Jerry Mander, author of the Capitalism Papers, Fatal Flaws of an Obsolete System, addresses what he believes to be the end of capitalism. Mander acknowledges that even though the economy has grown under this system for hundreds of years, capitalism is destined to fail, as it requires constant growth and we live on a finite planet with dwindling resources. In our current state, we are at the limits of Earth's basic carrying capacity, felt through the rise of climate change, peak oil, global resource depletion, and the social, environmental, and geopolitical chaos that ensues as a result. Mander creates a strong argument that society must change if we want to continue life on Earth for future generations. If we do not shift towards a more mindful consumption and put forward a greater effort to preserve what we have left in nature, we will use up all the Earth's resources and have no means of survival. Mander offers 4 mega shifts towards a new system that serve as a means through which a more sustainable economy can exist. These 4 mega shifts consist of prioritizing nature, focusing on localization as an alternative to capitalism, restructuring corporate values, and using a hybrid model for politics. This presentation will discuss the strengths as well as the flaws in the author's argument and how he could have improved the layout of the book, The Capitalism Papers. Jerry Mander's ideologies have had several valid points, particularly when talking about the importance of nature and social systems. Capitalism worked well in the early 1900s when we had an abundance of resources and cheap labor. As the economy grows, we increasingly consume more resources with little thought about the future. Mander identifies nature as the important missing link in every mainstream debate. It is no secret that society is short-sighted, but in order to preserve the Earth, we require overall global economic contraction to a level below its carrying capacities. In order to do so, it requires reduction in the use of resources by major developed countries and redistribution of sufficient available resources to countries in need in order to reach an acceptable usage level for everyone. It is unknown whether or not the world will continue after the depletion of all its precious resources. But the greater question is, at which point will we prioritize nature above our own self-interest in order to secure the survival of future generations? The concept of hybrid economics has been addressed before. Economists Saral Sarkar from India as well as Ann Lee from Hong Kong have both suggested that a mixed social system would allow for state capitalist enterprises, state-authorized but privately owned enterprises, as well as entirely free market companies, creating a greater opportunity for long-term planning. This concept is precisely what Mander pinpoints as he discusses the way that the either-or dynamic to discussion limits the incentive for society to cooperate. He is right in saying that people with opposing views need to come together and collaborate in order to find a long-term sustainable ground for the future. The major flaw of this book ironically results in the author's narrow sight in terms of localization, as there are many issues with relying on this type of system. He raises a good point that communities should seek local resources for consumption before reaching out to faraway places. When the book describes the ingredients in the typical plate of food on the American dinner table travels on average 1,500 miles from farm to fork, they imply that there must be more efficient ways to sustain the economy. Minimizing the amount of fresh goods that we import would also eliminate pollution to the environment incurred during transportation. Unfortunately, this concept is flawed because there are many regions with too cold of climates to maintain a fresh food supply all year round. This implies places that cannot maintain fresh food produce throughout the year would have to seek ways to artificially grow goods indoors, thus possibly doing just as much damage to the environment at a higher monetary cost. This theory also ignores the benefits of specialization and comparative production advantage in selective regions. The author's experiences also diminish the quality of work. The book drifts off topic early on as the author discusses his upbringing and educational experiences, removing the reader from the focus of the book and into the author's mindset. It is an interesting way to get the reader to understand how and why he identifies the issues, but his argument lost strength, and the book came across as less scientific and more anecdotal.
Created using Powtoon.